I'm in the action.
Right.
So I went.
Okay. George. Hey. So somehow they learn sign language, and they get their own language, and they get involved in the deaf community. They become members of the deaf community, and that way they're not just at home alone. You don't want to lose their culture. And deaf people have learned their language through deaf education, in the deaf school, in the deaf club, and they have their own thing. And I said, there's deaf sports, there's deaf basketball teams, and all those things. And I mentioned deaf churches. They have deaf pastors in religion, they have their own. And I mentioned that. And, the deaf people have done things. My point is that deaf people have a life. A lot of people don't know that we have a life. So we don't just sit at home bored all the time. It's the opposite. I mean, we party all the time, right? Yeah. So that's what I explained. So he saw that, he saw the deaf church. So I mentioned that. Okay, so thank you for inviting me to come. So I have some stories tonight that I do want to share with you. So I'm a little jealous of you guys because you guys have eaten and you're probably so full and you're going into a food coma. Should I have to dance in front of you guys now? Because to get your attention? I could dance, but we should have worked that out beforehand. So, okay. So I have one strict rule for my stories. I have to take my glasses off. No, keep your glasses on. I'm talking about my glasses. That's my rule. Okay? So why do I take my glasses off? Should I tell you why? Because if I leave my glasses on at nighttime, there's going to be like a reflection. Why a reflection? Because while I sign, I can guarantee that I'm going to sign, and they're going to be falling, and I'm going to reach for them, and they're going to hit something, and then it's going to hit something. Then another person's going to look at it, and then somebody's going to sue me, and then another person's going to sue me. 3 people will sue me if my glasses fall after all the havoc of those teeth. So tonight, I'm going to go the whole night without anybody suing me. All right? Because, deaf people are poor, so peace to you all. But we all love money. All right. Okay. flew in, and while I was flying, I was thinking something was bothering me. Like today, internet, there's some hot discussions about politics, about war and science and religion and politics and things like that. Yes or no? Like if things are true or false. There's a lot of information like that out there. But I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about science class. At school, when you grow up, you have to have science class. So one lesson, it talks about evolution. Like monkeys, they get up and then all of a sudden they become human. Evolution. People, some people require that you learn that. But one thing, my grandma and my great grandma back then, that was a monkey. That's what they said. I said, what? Well, in any event, I graduated. That's what they taught me, and I had a little bit of wisdom. I started to question it. I said, wait a minute, is science right? Is my great grandparent an animal? So I looked into it, and I want to announce to you that my science teachers and your science teachers were only half right. Half? Oh, well, let me explain. Half. Do you know that monkeys became human? You know that's true, right? You know that's true. But science forgot one thing. We forgot one animal. You know what they forgot? The deer. Yeah. What do you mean, a deer? Oh, let's talk about this. That's the deer. A deer became human, There's two animals, there's the monkey and the deer. So, what is the difference? So obviously, monkeys became what? Deaf people. So that means deer became hearing. Did you know that? Yeah? Laughing? Do you believe me? No? Okay, that's fine. All right, let's talk about this. I'll try to convince you. So the deer became hearing people. So before I talk about deer becoming hearing people, I just want to hold that for a second. I just want to have a time out. That I want you guys to think it through first. Just study a deer and then apply the things to a deer to a hearing individual. Suppose you're driving. Have you guys almost hit a deer before? Finished experience? Some people have hit a deer. I don't know your experience. Yeah, you've hit a deer. Okay, so you're going really fast. And your heart you can have a heart attack. You guys experienced this, right? So it's really interesting. So when you drive and you almost hit a deer, you stop like on the dime and you make it. And it's sad because your tires can go flat because the whole car is on those two tires. But I've noticed that as I've studied deer, that there's certain patterns that come up again and again and again. So, plus, I'm going to ask you guys, if any of you guys hit deer and notice some of these things, and then we'll decide. There's 4 different type of deers. 4, there really is. Here's the first one, and all you guys know this. The freezer. You guys know it. When the lights go on, the deer freezes. It becomes like a statue. It becomes frozen. As soon as like this. And you sit there and wait, you're like, can you move? And then you're frozen. Can you move? You say, come on, are you serious? Can you move? Come on, man. And then you finally swerve around it and still sit there frozen. That's the freezer. You guys know the freezer deer? Okay. So that's one deer. But here's another type. Not all other deer don't freeze. Some other deer are different. Here's a second classification of deer. You love to watch a magic show, right? A magic show, or else when they show something disappear. The same with deer. Like at nighttime, you'll see a deer. You'll stop and everything. And it's like the deer is gone. You don't even know where it went. I just saw it, but apparently I didn't. It's just gone out of thin air. Like in smoke, the deer now he knows. That's how some deer are. That's true. A third type of deer. This is the worst kind of deer of all. At nighttime, you hit the brakes and everything, you stop, and you almost have a heart attack, and the deer stops, and the deer is checking you out. The deer comes up to your car, and you're sitting there, and the deer is eyeing you over, is looking at your bumper, looking you in the eye, walking past the driver's side window, just trying to study you, and like almost like you're in a zoo and you're in the cage. You can feel the breath of the deer on your window, and the deer is a curious individual, just checking you out. And so you're waiting for that deer to go. You wait till it goes, and then you can finally drive off, right? That's called a curious or nosy deer. There's one more type of deer. This one is a funny one. It's my favorite. You know, at nighttime you stop and for the deer, and the deer is scared, and then the deer changes his mind and runs the other way. Then they change their mind, they run the other way. Then they change their mind, they run back. The result is that the deer starts dancing right in the middle of the street. Because they're going every direction that they can. And the deer is confused, running around in circles. You're confused watching the thing. And it's a funny thing to watch, right? A confused deer. That it runs around in a circle, then it finally dashes off into the woods. Okay, so I've signed these 4 classifications of deer. I see you guys nodding your heads and everything. It seems like your agreement. You've seen these 4 types of deer out there. Do you agree the same as me? You've seen these 4? Okay. So all those 4 types of deer. So then you look at me and said, you know, hearing people, there's the 4 type of hearing people, just the same as the deer. There really is. Do you know this? It is true. Like a good place like fast food. Like, I'm a hidden fan of fast food. You can tell by my stomach. I eat a good amount of fast food. You get in a line at a fast food restaurant, and you say that I'm deaf, and you write that you're deaf. And some people, they freeze, just like the frozen deer, right? Have you guys experienced that? Frozen hearing people? And then you wait for them? Yeah? You guys have experienced frozen hearing people? Okay, yeah, okay. And there's the magic disappearing deer. Like you're in line at the fast food, hi, I'm deaf. You write to them and they say hi, and then they're gone. You're waiting for them to come back, but you're still waiting after a while. And it takes a while sometimes. It's like, I don't know what happened to them. They never do come back. Then magically they come back and then they start talking to you. Then you start all over again. You start to say, hi, I can't hear. And you write your name to them. But then they disappear. You never see them again. Right? You guys experience that? Yeah, the disappearing deer. Okay, the third, the curious deer. This is one that a lot of us have experienced. It could be the worst. Where you go up to the line and say, hi, I'm deaf, and you write to them, and they say, oh, hello. Hi. My name, and it starts with it's an M or an N or an M or an N or an A or a R, and you think it's Mary, and then you try to sign this as slow because I'm forgetting sign language. They're like, don't worry. So you write, and they say, no, I want to sign. Do you want food? And you're like, yeah, I'm at a restaurant. I want food. So should I order with? So you decided, should I order with sign language, or should I? Or So you do one side, you change the side, you go backwards, you try to do all types of things to try to order your food. It's really, really hard work, and you finally order, and by the time you order, you're breathing real heavy, and then you get the wrong type of food. And then he said, I came for fast food, not fast friends. Right? Did you guys experience that? So, yeah, that's something that I've gone through. So that's the curious deer, and the last one is the confused deer, and that's the funniest one. You get up to the line and you say, "Hi, I'm deaf," and they look at you, and all of a sudden, like they're doing like the dance, like the deer eyes are going all over the place. It's like, what should I do? Where should I get a paper? And you're watching you're curious, you say, "Hi." Like, there's the paper right there. It's coming out of the receipt. So they hit the receipt, and they're like, oh, there it is, good. And you take it, and then you say, do you have a pen? And they're looking for the pen, and they're going back and forth with the pen. And you're waiting, and you're like, hi. And they finally find the pen, and they say, oh, you have one in your pocket. You say, oh, yes, I do have one in my pocket. And then you finally write, and you guys experienced that? Like the confusion of people like the deer. So maybe you see like the 4 types of deer, or like the 4 types of human. So back in the evolution of species, so I do think that deer became hearing people. The scientific people haven't quite proved it yet. They're still saying it's monkeys though. They're ignoring the evidence. There's a lot of deer out there, and there's a lot of hearing people out there. But I think what's happening now, they're hunting hearing people, or they're hunting deer, and I think that hearing people are hunting themselves. Am I right? I don't know. I bet the hearing folks would like that. Okay, I don't know. Have I convinced you that deer have become hearing people? Okay, are these some beautiful people? That's my wife there. She's from Florida. So I'm a California boy. And we met at Gallaudet University. And we dated, and my girlfriend is from Florida. And they have lots of parks there. So I went to Florida, and they have the beach there, and it's really beautiful to visit her family in Florida. It was a very nice state, so we started going to Florida a lot, when we were dating and everything, and then married. So their family actually has a beach house right on the beach. They own it. So because as my girlfriends, I got to go there a lot and go swimming. So Florida is pretty important to know the stories in Florida. So my wife, she loves swimming at the beach. She's got a lot of experience. The beach house was in a city. A lot of people don't know. It's a kind of hidden city. You guys heard of that? Anybody? It's called Mexico Beach, Florida. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. Yeah. It's really close to Tallahassee, kind of on the panhandle. So not a lot of people go there. Most people go to the southern part of the state, so it's very small. But it's a very beautiful beach, very vacant. And there's white sand there, and the water is like this light blue green, and I just loved going there. It was amazing, very clean. So I was very surprised that President Trump hasn't announced the name of America's beach yet. So I was wondering if he's going to name Mexico Beach America's Beach, if that's going to be the next one he announces. Well, in any event. So with my girlfriend, I was going to the beach, and they bought a ton of things. We bought umbrellas, we bought chairs, we brought towels, we brought food, we packed everything, water and everything. A whole slew of stuff. I thought it was kind of silly, but I didn't complain at all because I couldn't. I didn't have a vision of what I was getting into yet. When you're young, you want to complain, but I didn't know what it was. So I was holding all the stuff that they wanted me to hold. And my girlfriend, she loved. We were there together. We both arrived. she was setting everything up. She was setting up the umbrella, the towels, and everything, right? But my girlfriend, she put everything down and she ran, and she jumped into the water instead of setting this up. So here I was with all the luggage by myself. And she said, "That's man's work." And I said, "Well, thank you so much." So it was my responsibility to put the towels up, everything. So I finally set it up, and voila, I was good to go. I whaled myself into the water, and so like she loved the beach. She's a Florida girl and everything, but I felt like I wanted to get in the water before her that day. So I was trying to figure out like where I could jump in. So just a little earlier, I had figured it out. So this time we went, instead of going in, like setting everything up, doing the man's work first, I jumped in. I knew that there was like a big drop off in the water. So like my girlfriend, like, she couldn't believe it that I got in first, because I never get in first because this was our habit. Well, in any event, she then had to do all the work. She had to put the umbrella up and everything. So I was in there swimming and everything, having a good time this time. Well, in Florida, I was walking, and all of a sudden the water got deeper and deeper, probably up about to my shoulders. And I looked at my girlfriend, and she was way out there. I was pretty deep. Like, in California, it's different. Like she was way, like in the distance. Well, I looked up, and it was in the ocean, beautiful ocean, by the way. I was the only one out there. There's nobody to my left, nobody to the right. Everything was blue. And all of a sudden, I saw a very loud Army airplane that went about. There's a few of those in the afternoon. In Mexico Beach, apparently, it's right next to like an Army military base where they train. So they're very loud. They go past like every afternoon. So they were going past, and I was watching them. Very beautiful. So I was waiting. My girlfriend had stayed, and she didn't come. And as I was looking, all of a sudden, my eyes caught something. It was purple. And it started moving in the water. And I said, "What is that?" All of a sudden, I got scared. And I really jumped back. It was a jellyfish. Are you serious? A jellyfish? Says, "Time out. No. I don't do jellyfish." So some people, get scared and they jump up on a table if they see a spider or something, or they see a snake. You know that? I was different. You know what I did? I saw the jellyfish. Like, I would have broke the table for sure. I'm kind of big if I would have jumped on that. But like, my beard, was flipped. My hair was flipped. I chickened out. I saw this thing. My eyes bugged out. I said, no. I gotta escape to save my life. So my heart was like beating. So I said, I gotta control myself. I don't want to become like the frozen deer who gets hit by something, freeze, and then the jellyfish kill me. So I was looking at the jellyfish, and I decided I should just slowly turn around and go backwards to where my girlfriend was. So I moved very slowly. I saw the thing. My legs were quaking. I saw another one to my left. I saw two of them now. So then I backed quickly away from them, and when I turned to the right, I saw another one. There was 3 jellyfish right there. And I said, well, hold on a second. So I decided to turn around and go backwards, and I turned and looked right at the beach, and there was another jellyfish right behind me. There's one behind me, I didn't know it. There's one north, south, and west. I was done. My brain jumped out of my skull, and I think it went swim. So I just ran as fast as I could. I ran. I didn't think of it. I made it to the beach. My girlfriend was running to the ocean at the same time, and I jumped, and my girlfriend grabbed me, and she looked at me. And she's like, "What's going on?" My legs were kicking and everything. She's like, "Is it a shark or something?" I was like, "Oh no." I had to save my life. And we kissed and everything. And I'm catching my breath. And she said, "What's going on?" You guys are tough tough audience. You guys don't know what it was? I mean, it's a good story. I can't read you. I know that you guys aren't dumb. You guys already busted me. You know what happened? Well, in any event, so I lied and everything. I'll say it again, okay? So I was on the beach. There's 4 of them. I'm not lying. There's 4 jellyfish. One on every side. I'm telling you the 100% truth. So what happened is that I jumped out of the water. I ran to the beach. I went as fast as I could, and my girlfriend was going in, and I said, "That's not really what I did." My girlfriend didn't jump in my arm. I ran right past her to save my own life, and she ran into the water. And I said, "Where's my girlfriend?" I looked, and my girlfriend was in the ocean. And I said, "Oh no, I shouldn't leave my girlfriend alone in the ocean with the jellyfish. I'm going to be the worst boyfriend in the world." And my girlfriend, you know what she did? She looked and she looked, and she said, "What's wrong?" She saw me. She said, "Is it a shark?" She yelled out to me. And I looked at her. I said, Wait a minute. Let me pause the story. Are you serious? My girlfriend said that while she was in the water? What kind of person is she? So if you were in the ocean and you saw someone run out, what would you do? Would you stay and be like, "Hey, is there a shark in here?" Or would you get out and run and get out of the water? What would you do? What would you do? Would you stay in or get out? You would think, I mean, it's common sense. You'd get out first, right? And then you'd ask second. My girlfriend did. She stayed in the water with the water. And she's like, "Is it a shark?" And I look at her, and my girlfriend, you know, like obviously I just thought her brain just isn't working right. There must be something wrong with her. Must be something off with her. I said, no. Like, worst of all, I said, "You know what? It's a jellyfish." She said, "You mean jellyfish?" And I said, "Hurry, get out. There's so many of them. Get out, save your life." And my girlfriend, you know what she did? She went swimming right into the deep part of the ocean. I was shocked when she did it. And my girlfriend, I was like, "You know what? She must be, I gotta break this off. There must be something wrong with her." You know what my girlfriend did? She grabbed one in her hand. It said, "You mean this jellyfish?" And I looked at her, and I was done. I just about passed out. And this is my girlfriend. I was like, she's a dangerous Florida girl. She's one of these Florida girls, you know. So later I learned something. My girlfriend in Florida, she grew up going to that beach, and she was used to it. And there's a lot of jellyfish. So normally what they would do in like the August time is like a seasonal time where the jellyfish would migrate. Usually in August. They weren't before August. So in August, so they're pretty small. And then they weren't very, very big yet. So my girlfriend, her family, when they see them, you don't go from the bottom to touch a jellyfish. You have to grab them from the top. You grab them from the top, and then you put like the bottom up. Then you can throw them, and you watch them fly like a rocket. And you can watch them go right into the ocean. And then she kept swimming. She would just throw them. So my girlfriend's throwing the jellyfish, one left and right. She said, "Come on, let's come swimming." I couldn't believe it. My jaw dropped. I said, "I'm done." And my girlfriend looked at me and she said, "I think something's wrong with my boyfriend. Maybe I ought to break it off with him. In California, they just must not have these things." So did it ruin our relationship? No, it didn't. But we never broke it off. We stayed together. But worst of all, it seems like I got up in the morning and there's something in my mind, and I was thinking that I actually proposed to my wife. And my girlfriend, you know what she said? She said, "Yes, I do." And she said, "What?" We got engaged, and then we got married. It was too late. Somebody asked me how many years now? 2 weeks and 20 years anniversary. In 2 weeks it'll be my my girlfriend was in there. I shouldn't say girlfriend, I should say wife, my wife. Two of us, we were on our honeymoon there. But when you went swimming, it wasn't on the sand, it was a cliff. You had to climb down a ladder to get into the water to go swimming. So me and my wife, she said, "Do you want to go swimming?" I said, "Sure." So they gave out free like flippers, like snorkeling gear. So the two of us, went down and we climbed down the cliff. And I told my wife to hold all the snorkeling things so I could climb first. And then she'd throw it all to me and I'd catch it and then she'd come down. That was our plan. I'd give it to her. So we agreed. So I went down, and let me tell you, it was hard to climb down because each one of the steps on the ladder, the problem is that it was just right up against the cliff, so there's like no place for your foot. It was just like the edge of your toe on the ladder, and I'm kind of big, so I have all my weight going back with like my toes on this ladder going down the cliff. So my toes were hurting while I was trying to go down this ladder, and I finally made it from the hut. But I said, "Okay, come on." And my wife, she threw things down, and I did catch it. And then she came down, and I put on one flipper, and I put on another flipper. And then I said, "Oh, here's your stuff," and I gave it to her. So I gave her, some really tight snorkeling mask with a snorkel, and I got really, really lightheaded all of a sudden. And it went away. But I thought it was strange. I looked down, and I wasn't in the ocean anymore. I actually had somehow jumped up onto a cliff. And I looked up, and and the ladder was underneath me. So apparently I was in the water, and the wife was like looking for me in the water, and she looked up, and there I was, all the way up again. She was like, "Was it a shark?" And I looked, and I thought about, before we got married and everything. So I thought, they say that when you get married, it makes you a better person. But after I got married, apparently I was the same. My wife still swam. She said, "Is it a shark?" She didn't change. She asked the same thing. "Is it a shark?" And I looked and said, "No, it's worse." She's like, "What can be worse from a shark?" She's like, "I saw the same jellyfish." And it was the same thing. Nothing changed even after our marriage. So we looked at each other, and it was all too late. We've already been married. We couldn't separate. She was okay with the jellyfish. I wasn't. And she said, "The jellyfish again." And she yelled at me. She said, on our honeymoon, and she said, "Get your butt down in the water." Now he said, "No, I love you, but I'm not going to swim with that jellyfish." And it really was a jellyfish. I'm telling you the truth. And you know how big it was? It's really funny. Are you ready for me to tell you the size, how big the jellyfish was? Let me tell you. It was that big. It was that big. You're laughing. Why are you laughing? No, be scared. I have a good reason to be scared. I'll tell you the truth. Watch this. There it is. It wasn't one. It was a whole school of jellyfish. Everywhere, moving around under the water. And when I saw them, apparently that's when I jumped all the way up on the cliff and hung on to the rock. There's so many jellyfish. So my wife was yelling at me. You know how I saw what they looked like? And my wife was like, "Get in the water." And all of a sudden I saw her scratching herself in her back and on her arms and all over her body. And you know how I helped her? So on our honeymoon,
I went and swam in the pool alone, and she swam in the ocean alone. That was our honeymoon. Yeah, and then, and in the last 20 years, it's been the same way. Have you guys seen Tom and Jerry before? I love Tom and Jerry. I'm a 1980s boy. The captions weren't great in the 1980s. They were limited. They only had a few programs that had it. There was really no captions back then. But I used to love watching cartoons. You know, Bugs Bunny had the carrot. You used to watch Bugs. So I'd watch Bugs, I see him laughing and everything. But in any event, this is the one that I like the most. There's no captions, but you didn't need captions. All I did was run and everything. There's no really talking at all. It's great for deaf people. It's just, you just watched it and you laughed. I mean, it was great. I mean, I'm just sharing my heart. I love acting and everything, and I think part of it is because of Tom and Jerry. You ready for my story of Tom and Jerry, my enacting of Tom and Jerry? Here we go. There's a house and trees. And then all of a sudden, you saw 1, 2, and all of a sudden walk across the yard, and then closer, the cat saw a mouse. The mouse was right next to the cat, and it says, "I am Tom the cat." And the cat had, and then all of a sudden you saw Jerry the mouse. You know, the crows on the up, and they were running, and they chased each other up, and they chased each other down. And all of a sudden you would see them come into a house, and you would see the cat sitting there sleeping. Like this. He said, "Bah humbug." And all of a sudden the video would change. You see the mouse run up to him and really close to him. And then make it, and he'd drive, and the cat would still be sleeping. The mouse would come right up to his whiskers and look at it. And the cat would open its eyes and look at the mouse. The mouse would look at the cat, and they'd be staring right at each other. It'd like be frozen. Then the mouse would start acting just like the cat. And the mouse would be like, no, don't eat me, and start praying. And the cat would be like, what should I do? And its tail would start moving. And he'd be like, please, don't eat me. And the cat would be like, yes, I will. And its whiskers would start moving. And its eyes would start getting big. And all of a sudden he'd start getting up. And he had a big chest. And he started moving. And you could see like its abdomen. He had a 6-pack. And he's ready to go. His fangs are ready. And the mouse all of a sudden looked at him. And he saw the white whiskers. And he took off. And he had a torch. And he fell down with the torch. And all of a sudden there'd be a dog that was barking. And all of a sudden the dog would smell something. And the dog would be like, hey, hold on, that's white whiskers. The interpreter's a little lost here. There's a lot of stuff going on here. So the dog would start barking, and the mouse would run off, and all of a sudden the cat would come back and start looking around, and then be very disappointed that it didn't get the mouse, and all of a sudden it would sit there, So I grew up in California. So that means I have experience diving. Anybody done deep water diving at all? Wisconsin is limited, right? Is it with Wisconsin with the C or with an S? I don't know. So in California, there's deep water diving. I was a senior at the Fremont School for the Deaf. One of my friends, they said that there's a deaf instructor that has their license. They'll teach you in Fremont how to scuba dive. You can sign up for the class and go underwater scuba diving. You want to do it? And we were like, no. But we did. We said, we ended up signing up anyhow, and they said, we want to take a class, and they said, we don't do kids, we only do adults. But we were seniors in high school. So he was like, a senior in high school, you can graduate soon, so okay. But you have to pay money. And we said, no, that's fine. I mean, we're at Social Security, so we had Social Security, so we could pay for the scuba lessons. So they said, okay, you go home and then come on Sunday. That's when the class was on Sundays. So the first Sunday, we went in and we wanted to go scuba diving right away, and they said, no, first you have to read a book, and you have to go to a lecture first. And I felt like I was going back to school. I mean, I already went to school Monday through Friday, and I went to be off for the weekend. Now on Sunday I was back at school, and it was all my fault because I signed up for it. And they were really strict. So there's a test that if you got 90% of the class and the test you failed, you couldn't go scuba diving. You had to get 100% on it. And you had to take the quizzes, before the test. So there's a ton of rules when it comes to scuba diving. It's crazy how many rules there are. So you have to learn all the safety rules, the important rules, things you have to do. So there's one story. So I watched. It's called Sea Urchin. Have you ever seen that? The sea urchins. Did you see that before? I'll show you what a sea urchin looks like. It is not funny. I mean, some of them are like a ball, and some of them are very big. There's a lot of different sea urchins, but they're very, very dangerous. They're very sharp. So the teacher, he said that he got pretty close. He thought, it's not bad if you get close to them. He said, but if your leg accidentally brushes up against a sea urchin, I mean, it's cold water. It can puncture your bodysuit, your wetsuit. And he actually saw blood going through his wetsuit. He had to go up. So he was, they can puncture. And when they took it out, it was a good sized chunk of a stinger. It really hurt. And he said, it's time to rest if you ever get hit by a sea urchin. So the next day he was walking, and he said, I'd feel soon in the second and third day, and it took a week. And he said actually it was 2 weeks. He was still struggling to walk, even a month, and even a year, and he was in pain, and he never got healed. He was in pain for a long time because of the sea urchin. So one Saturday I was at home watching TV, and I was wearing shorts, and he said that I could feel something like a lump, and I thought it was like a zit. I went to try to pop it, and all of a sudden it came out from under my skin. And you know what it was? It was something from a year ago from that sea urchin that was still in my leg. And had been in his leg for a whole year. He felt better then. He didn't get sick or anything, but okay, so that was his story. So my friend and I, we couldn't believe when he said that. It took all the blood out of her braids, everything. We were like, peace, no sea urchins. We didn't want to go close to a sea urchin at all after we heard the story from our professor. It was enough to kind of scare us to death. So we passed all the books, passed all the class, and we were ready to go to the ocean. And he said, no. We had to go to a pool first. had to practice many different things. So, like, if your mask comes off, you have to practice on how to put it back on. If you're way deep and your mask comes off, what are you going to do? You can't swim all the way to the top to put it back on. You have to learn how to do that underwater. Or if your goggles come off, you have to figure out how to put them back on underwater without water being in your goggles. I mean, so there's technology where you can just open up your nose and you can let the water drain out like by your nose. A lot of things safety things we had to practice. Well, in any event, there was one test that I couldn't pass. I kept failing again and again, and it was a pretty easy one. You know what it was? Like, there's a life jet back vest where you had to fill it up with air, and you had to float, and then you had to take the air out of your life vest, and then you had to sink. So you couldn't kick. You just had to just let yourself sink. That was the rules. You couldn't turn around and swim. But because I'm, a little fat, I took the air out, and I was supposed to go down, but I didn't sink. My body doesn't know how to sink, apparently. I just stayed on the top of the water. And I was trying to go down, but the teacher said, you can't kick. You just have to, drop and go down. So with they gave me a belt with, little rocks on it. They said I needed more weight. So I couldn't buy it. They said they had to give me the weight belt. So they looked at my height and they weighed and they figured out that they can't buy it. They said you can't add more weight. So that's what they said. Go to a different store and they said no. Everybody said no. So I looked on the internet and everybody said you can't. There's for safety reasons. There's a max of how heavy you can be with weight. I was trying to get some weight to get me to sink. Well, in any event, the teacher said, now it's the last exam. You guys need to go to the ocean. You're ready to go. But when they went for the test, they said you have to have 100% to pass. If you get a 90%, you fail. You don't get a license. I mean, you've spent all your money and all your time for nothing. So this is a big deal. So that included the having to sink part. And I knew I couldn't do it, so it was a stressful thing for me. So me and my girlfriend went. So we went to the ocean. We got our suits on and everything. And it wasn't the only one. There's several deaf adults who came, and we all came for the last test. I mean, it took forever. The teacher had to check, everything. It was like a multi-point check for safety. So I was waiting, and it was my girlfriend. It was the next person. I mean, there's a whole line of individuals. It was a very boring thing while we were waiting. The ocean was cold, and it was raining. The rain stopped, but though it started to get dark, you couldn't see through the water at all. I felt like I was blind, with the water. So I was trying to figure out how to pass and how to sink. I was like, I know I can't. I mean, first I'll take the air out of my vest, but I was like, that's gonna be the first thing I'm gonna have to do before I do all the other stuff. So I looked at the stones. There's a bunch of stones down there, and I got an idea. I said, well, the teacher's away. I said, why don't I open up the vest and put those stones in there? So I put one in, and I zipped up my jacket. I was like, I don't know if I would sink or not. So I was like, one's probably not enough. I'll probably still float. I said, maybe I could do one more. So I picked up another one. I said, two will probably do the trick. So, but I couldn't quite, I was like, I don't know if I'm guaranteed to sink with 2 stones. Why not, just in case, why don't I add the 3rd stone? So I reached to get the 3rd stone. And I tried to zip my life jacket up over the 3rd stone. So I have these 3 big stones now. And I was able to get my life jacket over it, zip it up, and I'm looking a little bit like Santa Claus at this point. So I'm getting into the water. I can't see through it because it's super dark. I said, all right, I know I'm going to do it now. So the teacher said, are you ready? Are you ready for the test? I said, I'm ready. He said, I want you to go way out there deep. Are you ready? So I went out there, and I'm flapping with my legs as much as I could. I'm really working hard now. I mean, the teacher can't see me sweating, but I really am. So I was like the third person, and people are looking at me, and I'm really working hard. I was waiting for the person, the second one to be done. So he looked at me and said, go ahead, I deflate my vest. Or the first person he faced the vest, and they blink, and I'm still treading water now. And then it was my turn. He goes up to me, it's finally my turn. I'm a sweaty mess by this point, treading water with all the rocks and everything. And he said, if you don't sink, you're gonna fail. And I said, I'm gonna make it. I told him, I'm gonna make it. So he said, you ready? I said, I'm ready. He said, go down. So I deflated the vest. And next thing you know, I went down, and I went way down. And I tell you what, I never went down so fast in my life. I tell you, I broke all the rules. Teachers couldn't see it. I went so down deep that I couldn't believe it. And I saw the floor of the ocean. You know what I saw? You know what I saw down there? It wasn't a jellyfish. It was even worse than a jellyfish. A sea urchin. I saw a sea urchin. I didn't see one. I saw the king of all the sea urchins, and it was huge. It had tentacles everywhere. I was swimming away from the thing. I didn't want to land on that thing. I know I'd be dead for a year if I landed on it. So I'm treading water right in front of the sea urchin, and I'm trying to get all these rocks out of my vest. And I finally got all the rocks out. I made it to the top. My eyes are going bug-eyed by this time. I think I went up faster than I went down. And the teacher didn't see me because, deaf people it's a blessing to be deaf. You don't see deaf people getting away with a lot of things. They didn't see me, go down that fast. But I tell you what, I was breathing. I didn't think I was going to make it, but my oxygen dropped in half. But the teacher, I came up and he said, he's like, I told him, I went down there and saw the king urchin. He said, no, he's like, I'll tell you what you saw. There's actually a lot of them down there. There's a school of sea urchins. And I couldn't believe it. So it was pretty dangerous. The classman said, why don't you go to a safe place? I said, that's a good idea. So I followed the class and made it safe. So you know what happened with my test? I got 100% and passed that sucker. And I got my license. walk like Mickey Mouse, or you can make like a horse go on like all the like 2 feet to the floor. That, you know, you add human characteristics to something. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a game. So I am going to become the thing, but I'm not going to tell you what the thing is, and you're going to have to guess what the thing is. Okay. You ready? I'll start with an easy one, okay? Who am I? Volcano? Volcano, right. I was a volcano. Good. Very good. I was yelling and throwing the lava out of my mouth. Okay, here's another one. Ready?
Oh, the white.
Who am I?
Boy.
I'm an umbrella. Good.
Umbrella.
Okay, I'm gonna beat you. I'll give you a harder one now. You ready for a harder one? Who am I? Not a gun. Not a bow and arrow. Not a tank. Army tank, no. A cannon? No. You guys are thinking army. Just pass it. I'm interested to see what church is tomorrow. Okay, let me do it again. That was a challenging one. Yeah, you deserve that one. Good for you. Who am I? A car? Food, you're getting close. Food, you're getting closer. So you're going through a freezer. Who am I? Like this.
Oh.
Open. Come on, you're getting closer. You got to say food, right? Okay, it's a food storage container. I'll show you. To be honest, how many of you guys say food in containers and then you leave them there for a long time? Then you look at them and then you got to throw it in the garbage. You guys do that? Yeah, I know you do. That's it. So this is a little bit challenging. More challenging one. Who am I? Searcher? No. Vacuum? You suck your teeth up? No. Then the top. Something on the head and something with the sleeve. Like a bottle. Not a baby bottle, no. That's the hard. It's an advanced one. I'm mean to give you this one. Put it on the top, like this, up 3 sides, and all of a sudden go to sleep. Like a bottle, there you go. Starts with a B. Box.
Tree to tree.
Zipper? 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 It almost matches, but not like this. It doesn't go over it. And it's white and it comes really close.
Not bad, good, not good. Good, now you. Good, now you. Good, now you.
Scissors? It's better than that. Scissors. Not sweeping. What do you say? Sharp? No?
Yes.
That's H. So? That's H. Sharp? No. Shampoo? No. Sheep? No.
Da. Da.
Shopping? No. That's H.
Tree. Oh, oh. I saw it now.
Sauna?
Saw it now.
Like a sauna? No. Okay, I'm ready. Yeah? Yeah, like this. Going across. It's like these closer to the face. Yeah, like maybe. Yeah. Okay, I have one more. This is my last one. This is my last one. You ready? I'm gonna see if you can beat me on this one. Ready? Well, yeah. It's a fun game. Okay. I encourage you. Play with it. Try it yourself. So I'm sure none of you guys can come up here and maybe like bowling ball. Should we do a bowling ball? Do a bowling ball. I was gonna do a bowling ball, but I wanted one that would be a little more fun. That would make you guys got something to do. So a lot of people like things that don't make much sense, right? Same with me. I love things that don't make much sense. Odd things. Weird things that twist your brain. So I'll give you a poem. I'm gonna say a poem. It's a weird poem. Doesn't make any sense. So if you don't understand it, it's totally okay. I don't understand it either. Are you ready? The topic is I don't know. Okay, you can decide if the topic is cool. What's that? What's that? What's that?
The one, the rocky.
my last story tonight, my last one. So I have 3 children. I have a boy, his name's Boone. That's a picture of Boone. This is my son. And then I have a girl and a boy as well, 13, 10, and 8. So we have dogs. Boone was small. You know what type of dog that is? Yeah, a Boston Terrier. Very small, very cute, and the nose is indented like Mine wasn't mine. So in that it's important that my son speaks 3 languages, right? Better than 2 languages, right? My son speaks 3 languages. So the big thing is I had a flashback of when I was in Utah. That many times my son, I would hold him, and I remember whenever I have visitors, they would always look at me like something was funny, but I could never quite pinpoint what it was when I opened the door. Apparently, the whole time my son was barking at the visitors. I couldn't hear it, but apparently it was happening. So the important is to keep cool. And that's my show. Thank you so much for coming to the show. You guys have been wonderful cheeseheads. Enjoy yourself. I love you all. Judge. But hey, hey, Judge, you, hey, Judge. I'm Ben and Jay. 10 years. Now, here. See? That's it. So, Jay. God. Because you. No. Jack. Have fun. Is oh, son. Fun. Serious. Serious. Yes. Promise. Courage. Yeah. What? Christ. Trust. Jesus.
Amen.